Hello, welcome to episode 15 of The Heroes You Deserve. My name is Henry.
I'm Mike.
I'm Richard.
And this episode, I can't wait to show the people from the interwebs this thing I just got at Cole's parking lot. There you go. That's my thing. Thank you, Chewbacca.
You happy you got that out of your system
Yes,
now?
I got it out of my system.
Jesus.
Thank you. Whew. We are going to discuss Preacher.
Give it here.
We're going to talk about Preacher.
We're going to talk about Preacher. So, they premiered, what was the channel? AMC? AMC premiered it, the pilot episode, and it's going to be 2 weeks before season 2
Or
premieres.
next
week. Well, in 2 weeks, whenever we tape this unknown episode. So we're going to be discussing the Preacher, and some of us are a little bit more familiar than others. I think, Mike, I think you're the one that's most familiar with the comic book. The story.
Yeah, I've read the entire run of Preacher.
Right. How many issues did it last, by the way?
Oh gosh, I'd have to look that up. I don't even know. It was many volumes.
But there was a finite point. I mean, it ended at a certain point.
This was a story
And it resolved
that it had a
everything.
very clear-cut beginning and end. You know, it was all building to an event. I mean, there's small arches in between, and each of the graphic novels that they released, the trade paperbacks rather, kind of each encompassed one or two of these story arcs.
Can you explain what the whole story?
In broad strokes?
Sure.
Let me give you the mile-high view so we don't get too far down into the rabbit hole and spoil anything.
Right.
I'll tell you what you've seen so far. You've seen Jesse Custer, who's played by Dominic Cooper.
Howard Stark.
Yeah, Howard Stark, young Howard Stark. He, as far as you can tell right now, is sort of a son of a bitch who's come home, and is trying to do right by his family due to a promise he made. So he's trying to be a good man, even though he's very clearly not. We see evidence of that in the episode, and there's an entity. We see it in the episode floating around from religious figure to religious figure, just blowing them up.
Tom Cruise died.
It even took Tom Cruise from us. So no more Mission Impossible. It's done. No more Jack Reacher. That's it. Franchise is over.
From Dianetics, right? From the Church of Dianetics. I'm sure that's why they chose him.
Scientology.
Correct.
Yes, correct. So that's why he was chosen here, because he was given a sermon
Sure.
in the Church of Scientology, and he was a victim of this entity. We find out that this entity imbues Jesse Custer with an odd power.
Okay.
But we haven't seen it yet.
We did, actually.
We did see his power?
You didn't even know you saw it.
Okay.
Yes. I know what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, we can talk about it. It wasn't
Sure.
the first episode.
Sure.
Did I miss it? What was the power?
Okay, so the power, in the episode, one of his parishioners has been hounding him.
You're right. And he went over there. He had you're right. He controlled
He
him.
had some trouble with his mother.
Yes.
And he's just,
Be brave. Tell her the truth.
and
open your heart.
Yes.
which this man does literally.
Okay.
Literally does exactly those things.
Plus, the African priest at the very beginning also said, "Be quiet," and
everyone was quiet. So they kind of, and again, it was real subtle. What he has is the word of God. That is the power he's given, along with being a pretty good fist fighter, which we saw in the bar scene.
He's got a certain set of skills.
A certain set of skills.
Yeah.
These Englishmen, they're just dangerous.
Okay.
So anything he says, and he learns pretty early on.
Kind of like Purple Man from Jessica Jones.
Not unlike that, actually. Mm-hmm. Only he's less inclined to use his powers because he can rely on his fists. So we've got a guy who suspects that he has powers, wants to get to the bottom of it. And this is what the story is going to involve, okay? So we don't get too far down into it and spoil anything. It's him trying to find out what the hell has happened to him.
Okay.
He's trying to avoid any trouble that he's going to get into on account of it. And this first season, I think, is going to be probably one of the better story arcs, because later down the line, it gets a little religious, and you're probably going to get that from a show named Preacher. So I think everyone's expecting a little bit of religion,
Preacher?
at the very least, a little bit. So you're going to see him go on this journey to find out what has happened to him and how to make it stop. He doesn't want it. It's a bad thing that he has, and he suspects that maybe he'll eventually use it for bad things because he's not a great guy. You know, he's not even the hooker with the heart of gold. He's just the hooker. He's just a bad dude wearing the collar.
Now we will learn who Cassidy is because I was a bit confused.
Right. Explain who these other.
Or, I mean, is it a spoiler if you tell me who he is, or is it like a secret?
No, it's not a secret.
Because I got the
In
impression
fact,
like he was like some kind of like a fallen angel or something along those lines.
In fact, it was
because he bit into the guy's neck at the airplane.
Okay, yeah, we saw exactly how he was. They didn't beat us over the head with it, which is maybe why you didn't pick it up
so
right
he's a
away.
vampire.
Yeah, remember the guy pouring the bottle?
Yeah. But I mean,
And he's just like, really?
It could be anything. I mean,
A demon, right?
It could be any kind of demon. That
Sure,
could be, you know,
that's fair,
I didn't
that's fair.
automatically assume vampire, but
I figured the hand in the
sunlight.
the
But
sunlight.
he was walking around in sun for a while.
Yeah, it's a little odd. It seems like he is a vampire, and this plays out.
okay.
It just becomes a thing in the comics where he's like, yes, I can't really be in the sun, but I can be. I don't have fangs, but I still bite people and drink their blood and eat their flesh. None of the things that can kill me, except I think complete destruction of his body.
Yeah, because like even like the tools that these like I'm assuming vampire hunters were using in the plane, they were not traditional vampire killing tools. I just thought they were like like hunters like in Sam and Dean, supernatural.
Right?
Sure.
I just figured that he was some kind of a demon or a fallen angel or something.
I can see how most people would take
No,
that.
Cassidy is a
and so-
vampire. He's a very old vampire. Well, I mean old like in human years, not like old vampire years. He's not like centuries old, and I've settled into becoming a punk rocker, from Ireland because I do. No, he's not that. He is just a guy who became a vampire very early in his life, lived through most of it as a bastard too, and now has crossed paths with Jesse Custer and is content to maybe take along with him because he ends up having a very useful set of skills.
So
Well,
they decide just to partner up somehow, right?
I'm interested.
Cassidy's useful to Jesse, and Jesse's useful to Cassidy, and they have a symbiotic relationship that way. And they sort of each encourage the worst parts of each other. So it's going to be if it plays out like that in the show, we're going to see a very endearing buddy type relationship that also is very destructive.
Well, then you also have Tulip in the mix.
Yeah, explain who's Tulip.
Tulip is Jesse's ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
Love of his life.
Also
but
has a set of skills.
Correct. She's had the same rough upbringing. In fact, maybe perhaps even more so than Jesse.
But no superpowers. She's just a criminal.
Criminal who's very, very skilled.
Okay.
Can handle herself really well, as you saw in the episode. And again, it's a lot of the same. He surrounds himself with people that, again, are helpful to him, support him, but also bring out the worst parts of him. Also the best. Sure. Cassidy brings out Jesse's best quality as a loyal friend, and Tulip brings out the part of him that wants to love and care for a human being and do anything for them. And he genuinely does love Tulip, we find out. We don't know anything about her beyond what we saw in the show, but as that relationship is shown later on,
right,
we see that this is a person that he
will eventually see the backstory.
Exactly, and that's going to be a great thing for everyone to see. Pardon me hitting the mic there. She's an interesting character, and she's had it rough. Once we start digging into the backgrounds of these characters, Cassidy probably not as much, but certainly Jesse's and Tulip's are just terrible. They had horrible upbringings, and they came into being any sort of decent human being at all is a miracle. The sort of people they encounter are all terrible. They attract the worst kind of people, but they also attract kind of the best. I mean, we met the kid Arseface.
Yes, explain that.
That is actually, I won't spoil because it's a really, really funny story while being completely tragic as well. That little story arc, and he's sort of a thread that runs throughout the entire series.
I almost feel like I don't want to know some of this stuff though, because again,
I'm trying to give you the mile high.
You know what I mean?
View.
Okay, because I go ahead.
Yeah, this is something you would see on a one sheet if I were pitching the show to you.
All right, so since you're a lot more familiar with the series, do you think the pilot was done right?
Given its allotted time, I think so. They set up the three main characters, which are fairly faithful to the source material, but we didn't get a whole lot of what they're going to do. Like I said, we didn't get the reveal to the very end what it was that Jesse could do.
Right.
We saw that he was, again, good in a fist fight. We saw that Cassidy's good in a fist fight. We saw that Tulip's good in a fist fight. beyond that, we don't know a whole lot.
Do you think this series has potential there? I mean, there's.
I sure hope so.
And the people that arrived at the church at the very end, these are just hunting Cassidy, or they're hunting something else?
No.
To be determined later.
That, again,
Okay,
I
so
don't
there's
want to
something else.
reveal, but that is that plays into the religious aspects of the
Okay.
show and is really interesting. And there's some seriously weird characters that go along with it
Okay.
that are unintentionally funny. And that's just a credit to Garth Ennis' writing, because
I thought it was really humorous that they were wearing cowboy hats to blend in, and I thought it was kind of,
it's a bit of a thumb in the nose
Yeah.
to where they are.
yeah.
And again, they are in camouflage, I think, as you picked up.
Right.
So it's none of it is done poorly so far. The writing was on point, the acting's on point. As a huge fan of the source material, I think they did service to each of the characters that they introduced, and I'm excited to see where the show
Cool.
goes.
So for someone who is not familiar with the source material at all, I mean, what did you think? I mean, were you able to follow along? Do you think?
Yeah, I was able to follow along, and I mean, one of the things for me, like, I mean, I do have questions, and part of me, like, really doesn't want to know too much, because I really enjoy trying to figure things out.
Right, like a good pilot episode leaves you wondering,
Yeah.
like, I want to tune in on a weekly basis.
And it worked. It was very interesting to me. But like I was telling Mike earlier, I talked to him yesterday, and I was like, it had a very Robert Rodriguez feel to it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg were co-directors. I don't know if they're going to keep directing episodes. But just like the hyper reality of it, this almost, it reminded me of Desperado, right? Where you have this like a in the West, this
From
kind of
dusk till
this
dawn, kind of.
very, very similar to that, and then you have this almost cartoonish violence where the action seemed kind of sped up, and the blood and the gore. It totally reminded me of like From Dusk Till Dawn and Desperado, which is a good thing because those were two of Robert's better movies. And so they got me hooked. I don't know if it was intentional, if Preacher, by its token, is along in that kind of vibe. But for me, it was like I was watching a Robert Rodriguez. Like it could have been something on the El Rey network.
Right, I can see that totally.
And I liked it. I did like it.
I
see myself.
can see the hyper stylized, traditional American Western film with the rough and tumble hero who can.
But just like
never gets beat up.
the editing way, the way the violence was shown, it was almost, not realistic, like not really following the laws of physics, just like stuff was happening, but, you're just going along with it because it was fun. And I, like you said, the acting was great. Everything seemed, like just a good introduction. And that's what a pilot should be.
Right. And so I know AMC has Walking Dead and also has Fear the Walking Dead, but based on the premise of Preacher, is it asking too much of the general audience? I mean, it's very comic booky because it's very religious. And it's got a vampire and the Word of God and Arseface and other stuff that's going to come along the way. I mean, it's asking a lot, right?
It really kind of is, but also has done enough to make the story normal so far. To where as the average viewer who's not familiar at all with a comic property is still scratching their head and thinking that they need to know what happens next.
I just worry that there's going to be so much story because, to be fair, there really isn't much story going on in Walking Dead, and I honestly don't know why so many people watch it because it's literally just let's just wait for the zombie kills. The story has been pretty much floundering
It's
for
an
the
appointment
past.
at this point.
There's really nothing happening. I mean, anybody can watch that show.
It's your weekly prostate check.
Yeah.
And it's
so
equally enjoyable.
This may be a bit too difficult for some people to get into, or it may just not be their vibe. It's not grounded in realism. 'Cause there are some people out there like, oh yeah, the zombie apocalypse is coming, and this is the way it would be. I mean, there's some people that really like, Walking Dead is like it's something that's been revered, and I think this may not be as serious in tone as Walking Dead pretends to be.
And I'm sure, and I think they announced an after show.
This
too,
is
so
also
there is going to be an after
this is
show.
also a network where you have a show like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, where serious dramas can take root.
But it
so
didn't have
certainly
Breaking Bad as good as it was, and it was very, very, very good. Probably one of my top 2 or 3 shows of all time. It never had the ratings Walking Dead did. This is a completely different audience. So I'm just saying from that perspective, I don't know that they're going to have a hit.
And that's based a lot more in realism, I think, than the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, but I don't know. I honestly don't get why so many people are like fans of Walking Dead, and that's fine. You like what you like. I just hope that AMC gives this one a chance, despite not having because I think the numbers came out, and I don't think as many people checked
Right,
into
and we
it.
talked about there was a modest rate, but because there was Billboard Awards and there was Game of Thrones and some other stuff, so there was a lot of
Well,
other
yeah,
competition that night.
right now, all of these networks that have these high-end shows want to compete against Game of Thrones,
Sure.
right?
Sure,
Everybody's moving their show to
Yeah,
Sunday.
It got a next day replay. It's got the following week's replay.
Yeah.
So they're giving it the time. So it's not like the network's just, letting this show be and it's like, okay, if it catches fire, it catches fire. No, they're putting in the work.
Yeah.
They've got the marketing arm behind it, and they're certainly giving it the time it needs with this first episode.
I mean, hey, I'm a fan because it is still, yes, it is a Vertigo property, but it's still a DC property.
That's right.
And so, we have yet another DC show on TV, and because I forgot to mention in our last video, the pilot was also picked up for Powerless, which is a comedy, 30 minutes comedy on NBC.
Correct.
About an insurance company in the DC universe.
Kind of like Damage Control for Marvel.
And
oh gosh, I remember that series.
And Crimson Fox is making an appearance.
Yeah, I saw that.
So there's a lot of really good things on DC TV.
And
This is just
iZombie,
and iZombie is also a Vertigo title.
Lucifer.
And Lucifer is also a Vertigo title. So so like I said, I liked it. I thought it was fun. It had a very Robert Rodriguez kind of Desperado from Dusk Till Dawn vibe to it, and that's always a good thing for me. I was totally into it, so I definitely am going to be watching it.
Well, I think I'm not too familiar with the source material other than I think the trade paperback that you lent me, but based on what I remember, I thought it was fairly accurate, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think this show's got potential, and it's on AMC, and it's a little bit more adult and risque because of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and Walking Dead. So there's potential and there's room for improvement. So we'll just hope that AMC gives it enough time to let it grow a little bit with the audience. I think if I remember correctly, Better Call Saul kind of started off slow ratings wise as well, and then eventually it's kind of has its own legs now. So let's just hope that AMC does it justice as well, I think, right? Would you agree?
I would agree. I hope that they do give it the time it deserves, and this doesn't go the way of Constantine and get a solid first season and then disappear forever, because this is a good property. One I've been looking forward to seeing realized on the small screen or the big screen. I didn't care which. I wanted to see it made. And the fact that Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are seriously putting their time and effort behind it and their money,
right? Because
gives me some confidence, because I think that no one would have gone into this with their, really putting their money where their mouth is on a property that they didn't feel confident was going to be. And it was going to grab audiences.
Right, and they're known for their raunchy stuff like Superbad, but I mean they're overall comic book lovers, and they wanted to do that pilot. It took them years to get the rights and get the it just fell into place.
Yeah, I mean these guys shopped The Boys out to Cinemax, and it looks like that's going to become a regular series sometime in the future.
Whoever thought we'd see Vertigo titles on basic cable,
Again, I said it last episode. I'll say it again. It's a wonderful time to be a comic book fan.
iZombie, Preacher, The Boys. I mean, that's
really quick question.
Yes.
Like I said, not from the comics. I have never read them, but were there ever any other Vertigo characters that popped up in Preacher, or was it strictly its own self-contained?
It's its own property.
Okay.
So it's its own story. It lives in its own little universe. We didn't get to really see like.
I mean, I know there was different Vertigo, but sometimes they did kind of manage to cross over here and there. But
no other Vertigo.
There were no other Vertigo characters that you can remember.
No Sandman character, no Death, nothing like that. This, if I remember right, and I think I do, sort of existed in its own little bubble.
Okay. Good. Well, good to hear. Well, I think that does it for our recap, and we're looking forward to later episodes of Preacher. Maybe we'll do a recap or maybe season finale recap of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if this is the sort of thing you want to see more of, we're happy to do weekly reviews of these episodes. Just let us know what you want to see.
Yeah, so comment below. Tell us what you thought of Preacher or other shows that you think that we should review. If you think there's a show that you think we should discuss at length, we're open to recommendations below. I'm sure some of us have seen those shows. We just haven't done reviews on them. So we're open to suggestions. So comment below. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Feel free to comment on our Facebook because we're all admins. So if you comment on there, we're all going to see it. So thank you very much for joining us, and see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.